Last time on the tools tips, we were trying to find out, was Flash ever going to start working again? Would we ever get back to the tutorials? Would we ever find out what the tweens were all about? Well, yes. Yes. Here it is. We're going to talk about tweens and how they work. We're going to talk about it right now. Here, let's kick it off. So, you may be wondering to yourself, what are these tweens? What are they all about? Because I don't know. I've only just started being the animator that I want to be. Well, here's a tween. I'll demonstrate one real fast for you. Oh no, are you kidding me? No, I was just messing with my shortcuts and now they're all screwy. Everything goes to up one. There. Are we good? No. There, I'll use those for the whole tutorial and not worry about it. This is what a tween is. You want this to move from one place to another over time, and you can do that with a tween. There it goes, and it'll just keep looping for 30 frames, at 30 frames per second. How did you do that, Andrew? Well, I will tell you, you sly robot, you, watching these tutorials. I made a symbol, but more on that later. When you, here's how tweens work. You can take something and move it to somewhere else, and then Flash will generate all the frames in between those 2 points, and it'll make it look smooth and nice, and however you like it. And you can make it move fast or move slow, or fast at the beginning or slow at the end. And that's the same thing. You cannot tween shapes. So if I drew a super sweet banana, but I wanted to tween it, Flash won't let me do that because it can't. Banana, it's a shape, it's a fill. You try and tween that thing, and Flash is gonna say, nah. Well, it'll say okay, but it's not tweening the shape. It makes it into a tween. So you can, but you're not really. It's tweening a graphic. Okay? Not a shape. And you can add rotations into your tweens. Anyway, here's how you should do it to keep things simple. Say you had a sweet pile of blueberries. So make them into a symbol by hitting F8 or modify. We've been over this. I use movie clips. You can use graphics too. We'll call these grape berries. Blues. Oh boy. And you want them to go down. Well, first you need some frames for that to happen. So go to frame 50, hit F6, and then that wouldn't happen. It would look like this. You just move them to where you want them to be on the last frame. If you do it in here, then remember you're just moving it on this first one because there's no frame divider here. It's one big block. It's one big frame that's 49 long. So you do it on 50, and then you click anywhere in here, but not here. But you can do it on that one, on the first one. I'm going to do it right here. You right click, you go create motion tween, or you just select this and you go motion in your properties window, and it'll create a motion tween for 50 frames. Good. With even spacing between each in between. That's why it's called a tween. And it'll look just like that. Good. That's an example of a motion tween. About shape tweens, avoid at all costs, because you start to get problems with shape tweens if you don't do them right. They've only ever been effective for me maybe 2% of the time, because stuff like this tends to happen. You see that? That's a shape tween. And you can't make a shape tween by right-clicking, and a shape tween has to be between two shapes, not symbols. The way you do it is you select the middle bits and you hit shape tween. Shape tweens are bad all around. the way that they change from shape to shape is not that great. Sometimes they're okay if you want to change the color of something. It'll do that pretty gradually. But other than that, they're darn right useless. Unless you're tweening like a very simple shape. Like this, turning into this. It can handle that. Usually. But if you've got like closed loops, it doesn't like that. It freaks out. So, shape tweens aren't that helpful. These kind of tweens, though, are great because you can use the motion graph editor. And here's what it looks like. If you select your tween anywhere, not this last frame because there's no tween on that, but if you select in here and hit edit, notice there's an easing option. That's what we're going to be changing. If you want, you can change it here, but you don't get very much variety. You get -100 to 100, which is really not that much. So just hit edit, and you can see here, oh, this is time, and this is percent of the tween that has progressed. And it's just like in the physics tutorial. It's that same graph. It's how you view motion in Flash when it's tweened. This is where it starts, and this is where it ends. 100% of the tween is done, and 50 frames have passed. But say you didn't want it to go the same speed the whole time. You wanted it to start really slow and then speed up at the end. That is what is called easing in. And the way you do it is not by moving this. You can't. It's by clicking it once and then moving this handle right here. So if you didn't want it to go very far in the tween at the beginning, but then go really far, really fast at the end, you would drag this down so that it's only made it, this is the 10% line of the tween. After 20 frames, it's only made it 10%. Let's make it even more drastic. So after 30 frames, it's only made it 10%. And you're already more than halfway done with the tween. And then after 40 frames, it's at 25%. And then at 45, it's all the way to 40%. And then in here, it just goes faster and faster as it goes along. Here's what that would look like. Super, super slow and fast. Right at the end. See what I'm talking about? That's called easing in. The best you can do with this slider for easing in is -100, which isn't very dramatic. That didn't look very good at all. And you can see how bad it is. This might be what you need, but if you want to take it to the whole another level, then use your sliders and do it by hand. And you get super customized tweens. Same thing, if you just invert it, you can get easing out, where it starts really fast and then slows down as it comes to a stop. Just like this, starting fast and then slowing down. Maybe you want it to start fast, slow down, then speed up again. You would have it start fast. You can add points, so you can get really crazy customized tweens. I think you can only have 8, but if you grab this, put it in the middle, bend it like that, and then make it speed up, it'll start really fast, slow down, slow down, slow down, speed up, speed up, speed up. Here we go. Just like that. All kinds of types of tweens. That's by selecting your tween and hitting this edit button. If you want it to rotate, you can either do it by hand, just like that, and it'll apply that graph that you just worked on to every kind of transformation. You can make it squash or stretch. You can make it rotate. You can make it skew, but you can't do this to symbols. You can't stretch it unless it's a shape. So rotation, translation, and skewing are all fair game. And scaling as well. And it'll apply that scaling and rotation and whatnot with this graph. If you don't want it to do that, untick this box saying use all settings for all properties. Use one setting for all properties. That's what this does. If you untick it, then you can change all of these things with different graphs. So I think the position, no, it reverts all of them once you change that button off. So you can make the position go really slow then speed up, but you can make the scale go really fast and then slow down, and you would get something like this. You know? All the kinds of tweens that you need. Huge customizability. And I use it all the time for like typography. When you want text to fly in really fast and then slow down, it's great for really giving impact to your words. You can also tween filters, which I'm going to talk about much later in the effects tutorials. And if you want, you can tween color, I suppose, but I think that's for shapes on shape tweens, so don't really worry about it with symbols. Mostly you're just worrying about movement and scaling tweens. Here's an example of the rotation function on a tween. Say you have a symbol, F8, movie clip, and you want it to spin a full 360. You cannot do that by doing this. If you do that and then make it a tween, nothing will happen because it's not ingrained into the tween. Flash doesn't keep track of how many times you've spun something around, like Premiere might or After Effects might. You have to select your tween and then go to rotate, and then you see these options, CW and CCW for clockwise, counterclockwise, and then I guess auto is if you do it just a little bit. And then it'll keep it on auto. But I'm going to undo that and just have it be the same at the end and the start, and then select the tween and make it counterclockwise, and it'll go around one time. You can make this number as big as you want. Here we go. One rotation. Follow the corner, only one time around. And then you can use this stuff on that. You can make it start off slow, speed up, and then slow down again. This is a pretty common tween for making things fluid. So this will start slow. It's still doing one rotation because it only has one in there, clockwise, but it'll start slow, speed up, and then slow down. And you can really see that in action with more frames, like 120 frames. It starts really slow, speeds up, and then goes around. That is just one rotation, right? I'm following the corner now. It's that one. Yeah, it just looks fast. Good. Tweens, super great. Great stuff. Well, motion tweens. In the newer versions of Flash, if you want this kind of tween, you're going to have to click Classic Tween when you make it, not Motion Tween, because Motion Tween is a whole different thing in the CS Flashes. And then syncing and snapping is for, well, syncing is for like if you want to change the symbol out halfway through. So if you had this be a blue line as a symbol, and you wanted it to change to the blue line halfway through, you would make a keyframe, delete it, put it where it lay, and then watch what happens. It's screwy, but if you're just doing motion, you might want to use that like if a character's head is changing halfway through, and you've already gone in and pre-drawn custom frames, and la-da-da-da-da. It's used a lot in character animation. I don't use sync symbols, but some people do. Say you had your tween, just like that. It moves and it rotates, and you didn't want it anymore. Oh, I don't like my tween. Right-click it, remove tween, remove that tween, and it's gone. It's just one big frame again, and it'll look like that. Yeah, tweens are pretty simple, but once you master them, they're great. But there's more than one kind of tween. There's a motion tween, like that we just saw, and then there's a motion tween with a guide. So, remember in the timeline tutorial I talked about this button? Well, now we're going to learn what it does. Say you have this red square, and you would very much like for it to move, but you don't just want it to move in one direction like a normal tween would make it do, just like this. you want it to go follow a path. The only way to do it is with a motion path or by hand animating it. And you don't want to hand animate it because it's like 100 frames. It's like 100 frames. It would take so long. So you might use a motion path right here. They're kind of hard to work with. So if you select the layer that has the thing that you want to tween with a motion path on it, and then hit this button, it'll make a guide layer, and it'll call it the name of the layer that it was on. But it won't change with it. Anyway, this has to be a symbol, like a movie clip or a graphic. And how this works is it'll take your registration point and try and snap it to a motion guide, which has to be a line. So you go, okay, you've made these two layers, you're ready to go. You know where you want it to end up because you've made the frame, F6, and moved it, and you know how you want it to get there. So here's what you do. I like to do it like this, where I select the box, and then I zoom in, and then I make a line that starts right on the registration point. And this is a bad color for a line. We'll make this pink. And then I cut that, and I go on here and I paste in place with Control-Shift-V, just like that. So now it's on the center on this other layer. Okay? It has to be like this. You can't even see it now, but it's there. See? I put it to outline mode for a second so you could get a better look. It's pretty close. That's close enough. Within, like, I don't know how big it is, but a little bit of gap is fine. Anyway, if I then go to the last frame and select this and get a pretty good idea where that is, I can click this, drag it, let go, and now that'll work with the thing. And you can bend this to your heart's content. As long as it is a continuous line, then it will follow it. And the way you do it, it's already its own guide layer. You just make the tween, and it'll follow. But you have to remember that the end of the line has to be close to the registration point of the square. And I keep saying that because it is not the center of the square. That's important. Oh, I just moved it. Hold on. There. If I go inside this square and I get rid of this stuff, the registration point is still there. So the tween will still work because it's basing it off of this point in the square. Keep that in mind. And then if you want your line to do a bunch of different stuff, you can just do some wibbly wobblies and go in here and connect it. Turn on snapping. And now it'll follow that whole thing. And you could see that probably better if this was in its center point, in its registration point, like that. Check it out, chow, 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 chow. Look at it go. And then if you apply one of these kind of things to that, it'll respect that. It'll start really slow, and it'll still go down the path, just go really fast in the middle, and then slow down at the end. And I don't think these show up when you export. Nope. So it'll just look like that. You can hide it in here, and it'll still work. Motion paths. Make them whatever shape you like. They work great, as long as you remember that it has to start on the registration point. If this was like that, well, once you do it, it'll move with it, but after the fact, it doesn't like to be moved. I mean, before the fact, it doesn't like to be moved. So if I delete this, and then start one out here, okay, Flash is usually never this good, but I'm just now starting to see that apparently it'll jump, but that's not even close. There. Experiment around. But if you're drawing your motion path beforehand, you have to get it close. As in, like, before you make the tween. See? Just do it the way that I described the first time. Done and dealt. A quick guide to tweens. Something to note, you cannot add motion path stuff to shape tweens, unfortunately. It would make them so much more useful. But if you've got a shape tween, There is no edit button here. Ugh! Why? Why? I don't get it. It's never made sense. Like, you should be able to... You can only do it up to 100%. Or to 100 ease out, or negative 100 ease in. And then that's it. Like, if it can do that, why can't you do a graph? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Macromedia probably knew. And that's even true up to Flash CC. You still can't do it. Some kind of malarkey that is. Also, I'm Andrew Bepler. Hey, hope you learned about, like, maybe one thing about tweens.